Hello and welcome to the kitchen table. It's Alison Southern here, Team Vicar in Melksham, and welcoming you to the kitchen table again. It's Tuesday in Melksham, another beautiful sunny day. How is it where you are? I hope things are okay. We continue to be in that strange time, and this week has brought about changes for those people who have been shielding. They've been encouraged to maybe step that little bit further away from their homes, to go out for a walk, to think about what that might look like. I was thinking about that today, and in our own lives and in our own home, about what that means when we have to trust to go into busier places, to maybe risk being in a situation where you are closer to somebody than you think you would want to be. It's a stressful time, particularly for those people who have got lots of conditions that make them vulnerable. But I think lots of people, whether they have those conditions or not, are feeling vulnerable at the moment. And the levels of anxiety are definitely rising. I think maybe there's two groups of people. Maybe there's those who think, yeah, it's all right, we'll go down the beach, it won't matter, we don't need to worry, we're outside in the fresh air, everything's fine. And then there's another group of people who are really anxious about what that looks like and how safe they are to put themselves into difficult situations. I think as a society we're going to take a long time to get it right, to think about what that means, how we can keep the vulnerable amongst us safe and still allow others who are ready and raring to go at claiming their lives back again. It's a really fine line, and when it's maybe your health and you're worried about, and your family that you're worried about, it's really difficult to get the balance right. I know I struggle between trying to allow freedom in the household, but also be aware of the constraints that are needed to perhaps keep us safe. It is a really fine line, and I probably get it wrong sometimes, but we have to try and get it right. I was thinking about later on as things start to change. We were talking today about hand sanitizers being prepared for churches when we're able to gather again. And I was talking with my church warden about how cleaning the church would look, how we would do things differently as we gather to worship. And how would you do things differently as you go back to work? It will look very different, whether you're a hairdresser, whether you're a bus driver, whoever you are, wherever you work, maybe it's in the cinema, all those places that over the next few months are going to have to relearn how to be themselves. It's definitely going to be a time of challenge and of learning and of enjoying the small movements and the small moments that we gain, keeping ourselves and everybody else safe. So what has the Bible got to give us in terms of all of those changes? Well, of course, the COVID-19 didn't feature heavily in the Bible, but I was reading a passage the other day that really struck me, that us having to relearn how to be part of society again, us having to take those first steps back into life again. There has been things written about in Scripture that might be able to help us. In Mark's Gospel, there is a story of Jesus having travelled across the lake. He's gone across the Lake of Galilee and he's gone into a new region, a different region. And he goes through, it's like a churchyard really, a graveyard, a place where people are taken to be buried. And there is a man, and a man who is really struggling with his mental health. He has been chained up in order to keep everyone around him safe and to keep himself safe, presumably. He's in rags, he's in a really difficult state. Jesus asks him who he is. And he says, I am Legion, because he has so many voices in his head. That's who he describes himself as. In this Bible story, we hear of Jesus healing him. And in the story, it talks about the demons leaving this man. And Jesus, as he begins to move on in his journey, this man begs to go with him. And Jesus turns and says, no. Go back to your family. Go back to your community and tell them all the things the Lord has done for you. And then he leaves. And we're told the man goes back to the region of the 10 cities and tells everyone who will listen about the amazing things that the Lord has done in his life. But I was thinking about that man, and that very short passage, he went back home. I wonder what it really was like to go back home. From having lived on the margins of a town, locked up, in rags, being fed by the kindness of people who would bring you food, to being completely healed and having to find yourself again, to find your trust in others, to find their trust in you, and to be able to move on into something different, a whole new way of living again. For me, there are real echoes in that of how we are finding ourselves in this world at the moment. We're all having to learn to do things differently, and we will have to continue to learn to do things differently for quite some time. Now, we can either curl up and wish it was all gone away, or we can find ways of dealing with it. And neither way is going to be easy. It's going to take courage, it's going to take a certain amount of confidence and trust in the scientists and in the governments, and in our brothers and sisters around us, whoever they are. We all have a responsibility to care for each other. There was a huge outcry the other day over the actions of somebody in Durdledore that had put themselves in danger and indeed were terribly injured by jumping off the rocks from a great height. And all those people who were on that beach were herded together. Our actions have an impact, no matter what they are, whether it's jumping off into the water and creating the chaos that followed, or whether it's about just being with people that we know and love and thinking about their safety and how distant we keep from them and how close we get to them emotionally, and the love that will hold that distance together. Those are challenges for me and for you. I don't know what Jesus would say if he were in the midst of that situation, but I believe his call for us to love one another is the thing that will help us to see our way through the difficulties of this time. That when we care for one another, when we think about not just ourselves and what we want, but what's right for other people, then we stand a chance, I think, of waking up into a new way of life. One that is motivated by care for the other, and one that teaches us all the importance of the love that we have in our hearts. I hope you know God's love in your heart, and I pray that you will stay safe on your journey, whether you've been shielding and are just making those first steps out, or if, like us, you have just taken that first visit to grandchildren in a very long time. I hope that you're blessed by those moments and held in the tough times too. So until we meet again tomorrow night at the kitchen table, stay well, stay safe, and love one another, and know God. Bye for now.